Okay, so you can hear and see me, right? So today, you know that you have a presentation, right, for OOAD for your assignment Wednesday. Yeah. So today you have your presentation for OOAD. So for OOAD here, we have three group, which is group Rachel, Jonathan Ian, and Noel. Okay, three group. Forwarding management system, car service center management system, and Noel is this what is the title of this one? Stop. Oh, stop and shop. Yeah, stop and shop. Okay. Oh yes, how the presentation flow? Yeah, presentation flow. Do you mean who want to present first? You have PowerPoint, right? Or do you prepare PowerPoint for your presentation? Do you have PowerPoint for your presentation? Oh yeah, slide. I mean, yeah, slide or PowerPoint. Correct. How's the presentation flow? You mean who to present? For the flow, I don't have a specification, or it's up to you guys actually how you want to present. As long as you present whatever you already write in the report, the same report that you sent to me for part one and part two. Because here I have, yeah, you know this one too. We have separated part one and part two. So for this presentation today, who want to volunteer before I pick any name, any group to start? Who want to volunteer to present first? Jonathan Ian. Hmm, Jonathan Ian. Wait, let me open your. Give me 1 second. Let me open this one. Then oh. Mm, okay, so Jonathan Ian can go first. So the HC Auto Service Center. Yeah. Okay, you can.
All right.
Oh, I. Oh, Jonathan, wait. Let me record first. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so you can start your presentation today.
Jeremiah.
Oh wait, sorry. uh, Hello. Can see the screen.
Yes, can.
Okay. Uh, okay. Hi everyone. My name is Jeremiah. So today, my group, we're going to present our assignment presentation. So our group member consists of four members, which is Ian, Wang Yap Hao, and Nathan Su, and lastly including me. So firstly, I'm going to present the organization background and current problems. So, uh, the organization we have chosen is the HC Auto Service Center, which is a shop that provides car maintenance and services, and it has opened for business since 2000, on the year of 2000. So it is a age business company, and there are a few issues that have been encountered by the HC Auto Service Center, which is they are based on the legacy system, they are using paper-based documents, which process which all the process are performed manually, and it can be time consuming. So inaccurate informations and missing files would be easily affected lah. So for the HC Auto Service Center, they have proposed to develop a application system for which is called the Car Service Center Management System, which to increase the efficiency of their staff, and which able to minimize errors and problems on storing data. So for the next point, I'm going to pass to Wong to explain the functional requirement list based on system modules.
Okay, so for the functional requirements list based on each system modules, first is the customer module. The customer module shall allow users to add new customer records into the system's database. Next, the customer module shall view all the available customer records. Shall allow users to view all the available customer records stored in the system's database. The customer module shall also allow users to edit or update customer details stored in the system's database. And lastly, the customer module shall allow users to delete customer records from the system's database. Next, for the inventory module, uh, all of the operations are mostly similar. So for the first operation, the inventory module shall allow users to add new product records and their details into the database. The inventory record shall allow users to display all the records, shall display all the product records and their details which are stored in the database. The inventory module shall allow users to edit and update the details of the product records. The inventory module shall allow users to remove product records from the database if required. And it should also the inventory module shall also allow users to generate reports. Next, for the supplier module, it should allow users to add new supplier records into the system's database. The supplier module shall also allow users to amend or update supplier information. The supplier module shall display all suppliers information, and the supplier module shall delete any supplier record if necessary. And next, this payment module. The payment module shall allow users to add new payment records into the database. The payment module shall allow users to update or amend any payment record details. The payment module shall allow users to view all payment records and their details. Payment module shall allow users to delete payment records. And lastly, the payment module shall allow users to generate reports. So for our overview use case diagram, the users, which includes the owner and the employee, can access the customer module, inventory module, supply module, as well as the payment module. So for the first module, which is customer module, it includes the payment module, whereas for inventory module, it also includes the payment module and also the supply module. So that is it for the overview use case diagram. Next, I'll pass it to Ian to discuss about the initial and final class diagram.
Okay, so I will be presenting the initial class diagram and the final class diagram. So I will discuss what is the initial class diagram first. So as you can see on the slide, there are 6 classes here. 4 of them are the class modules that Wong has identified, which is customer, payment, inventory, and supplier. There are 2 associative classes, which are the order class and the supply class. These 2 are the associative classes to resolve the many-to-many relationships between payment and inventory to supplier respectively. So the relationships of our diagrams are each customer can pay 0 to many payments, and each payment is paid by only one customer. Each payment is consisting of 1 to many orders, while each order can only be linked to one payment. One inventory can contain in 0 to many orders, while each order can only contain one inventory. Each inventory can receive 1 to many supply, but each supply can only receive by one inventory. while the supplier supplies one-to-many supply, but each supply is supplied by one supplier only. So this is basically the initial class diagram without any visibility, compositions, aggregation being defined. So next I will touch more on the final class diagram. This will be the 2.0 version, the upgraded version of the initial class diagram. So this is a similar diagram as well, but we have more features and details. We can see that each of the class, the data type is being defined, and then we can see there's also the visibility such as public and private are being set to each data and functions as well. So the functions, we have all the stated function requirements such as add, view, edit and delete, and also generate reports as well for the inventory and payment module. So we also have a static next number ID. So this one is to act as a counter for adding the ID. So users do not need to add the ID themselves, but rather it's a counter. We also have a compositions and aggregation being implemented. So the composition is the white arrows. The composition is the black arrows being implemented by payment to order and supplier to supplier. So compositions are the classes are dependent on something, meaning to say the supply must be dependent on the supplier to supply, and then the order, the payment is dependent on the payment is dependent on the order. Whereas the aggregation is the white color arrows without the black field arrows. It means that this is independent. It can exist on its own without relying on other classes to, let's say, generate or create it. So this is basically the final class diagram. So now I will move on to the module diagrams. So we will be doing our diagrams by module. So we have four modules. So we will go through each module's diagrams and descriptions that we have created. So first off, we will discuss of the detailed use case diagram, then followed by the use case descriptions, activity diagram, sequence diagram, collaboration diagram, and state chart diagram. So first off, I will talk about my customer modules, diagrams, and descriptions. So first off, the use case diagram, as you can see from the slide, it is very similar to the overview use case diagram covered by Wong just now, but this is more to customer module. In this customer module use case diagram, we have two actors, which are owner and employee, with four use cases, which are the four functional requirements, which is add, view, edit, and delete customer records. If you see on the slide that it's the owner only points to the delete, which means that only owners can perform the delete function, whereas the employee is unable to do it. But owner can complete all the employee functions, such as the view, edit, and add. So therefore, it can be said that employee can only perform add, edit, and view functions, whereas the owner can perform all the employee functions and additional delete customer record function. So this is there's a difference between each users. So next, move on. We will talk about the use case description. So the diagrams later on will be based on this use case description. So the name of our my use case for customer module is the add customer module. It has the employees and owner as the actor. The brief description will be the users can add a new customer record to the system. So I'll be focusing on the add function. As for the main flow of events, we have two separate sides. One is the actor's action, and one is the system response. So to begin with, the first one, system will display the customer page and allows the user to perform functions. Secondly, the user will select the add new customer record to add a new customer record, and the system will generate the add customer form at the third step. And then after that, number 4, the users will enter the customer details, and the system will read whatever the user has entered at step 5. After that, it will validate and process the input values. So at step 6, if all the input values are valid, then it will prompt the user again for getting the confirmation to add the new customer record into the system. So after that, at step 7, users can enter their confirmation choice, and the system will also read and check the confirmation received. So here the system will process at step 9. So if the user confirms, then it will add the new customer record into the system database. And step 10, display the successful message and redirect back to the customer module's main page at step 11. So basically, this is the main flow of events. There are alternate flows of events as well. So let's say it's step 5. If the input values are invalid when the user is entering the customer's details at step 4 to 5, then it will display error message and prompt user to re-input the details to be until it's valid, all the details. Step 8 also, during the confirmation step, if the user cancels at step 8, so meaning if step 8 the user cancels, then it will skip 9 to 10 and directly jump to step 11. So it will skip the add process to the database. So step 8, if the user cancels, then the user system cancels the add function and prompts user back to step 1. So the post condition for my use case is that the new customer record will be added to the system database if the main flow of events are done correctly. So next is the activity diagram. So basically, all my diagrams will be based on the steps that I have mentioned in my main flow of events. So there are 2 parts as well, which are the system and the actors, which we have covered just now. So as you can see, the first step is to display customer page. Then it will allow users to select and display the form, and go through the process to read the customer details, get the confirmation, and add into the system database. So basically, this one is following the main flow of events that I covered just now. Sequence diagram is also the same, but it's in different format. We have an actor on top of the top left, which will be the employee and owner. We have 2 control lifeline, which is the add customer and customer database, and a boundary lifeline, add customer UI. The process is similar, but we have a UI as the middleman or the medium between the actor and the system itself. So the UI will be focusing on displaying the forms, the messages, and so on. So the processes are the reply messages. So the dash arrow means that the control is returned back to the object. So let's say at 2.0 here, let's say the user has selected the add new customer record, then the UI will prompt back this add customer form and prompt back the control back to the user. So that's basically it. All right, so next, collaboration diagram. This is the similar thing. So we have the functions and steps are performed according to the numbering. So if it performs at 1, 1 display customer page, 2 select add new customer, and 3, 4, 5, and so on. So this one is following the steps that I have mentioned for my main flow of events just now. This is the collaboration diagram. And lastly, the state chart diagram is similar, but here we will be focusing on the states. So let's say the user selects add new customer, then it will display a form, and then the user will enter the customer records. So here the system will retrieve it and process it. As I mentioned, if the details are invalid, then it will re-enter. It will allow users to re-enter again to retry to add the customer. So if it's okay, then it will read through the confirmation, and it will be in a confirmation state. And after that, it will process the confirmation get from the user. So if it's yes, then it will insert the record into the database, and if it's no, then it will just end the process. So that's basically it for my customer module. So next, I will pass to Wong for his inventory module.
Okay, so for my inventory module, it is similar, mostly similar to what Ian have just said. So for the inventory module use case diagram, only the user consists of owner and employee, whereas only the owner is able to delete inventory records. And for the employee, it is basically similar to what Ian have just said. So the employee can only view, edit, and add new inventory record. So next for the inventory module view for the detailed use case description, I am doing the view inventory details use case. So the actors includes employees and owner. So for the brief description, users can view inventory details of the system, whereas it extends to a use case where it is able to generate monthly report. So for the main flow of events, first the system will display inventory page, whereas then the user can, if the user select view inventory details, the step 3, it will display inventory details. The system will display inventory details. Then users can have the option to generate a monthly report, whereas the system will prompt user for confirmation of generating a report. So step 6 includes that the users can enter the confirmation choice. Whereas step 7, the system will read and check the user's confirmation. So for step 8, if the user confirms to generate a report, the system will either print or download the report. After doing that, the system will then display a successfully generated report message. Then lastly, it will redirect the user back to the inventory module's main page. So for the alternative flow of events, for step 7, if the user cancels, the system will cancel the current report function and prompt the user to step 10, where he will be redirected back to the main page. So for next, for the activity diagram, first the system will display the inventory page, which is the inventory module page. Then if the user selects view inventory details, then the system will display the inventory details which then the system will prompt the user to generate report. Whereas if the user enter choice, and the system will read the user's choice. If the user confirms, then the system will either print or download the report. Whereas if the user cancels, they will be redirected back to the inventory module's main page. So next, for the sequence diagram, it consists of uh one boundary and control, and two control. Yeah. So first, the system will display the inventory module page. Then then the user will select view inventory details. Whereas for 2.1, the system will retrieve inventory record from database. Then the UI will display inventory details. Whereas next, it will prompt the user for generating the report. If the user confirms, then the system will either print or download the report. Whereas if no, then they will be redirected back to the main page. For the collaboration diagram, it is mostly similar to what Ian has just said. So the user will select, no, the system will first display the inventory page. Then the user can select to view the inventory details. Then the system will then display the inventory details and prompt the user for confirmation. Then for step 7, they will either print or download the report. If no, then they will be redirected back to the main page. So for the state chart diagram, the system will retrieve the data, whereas if the user selects view inventory details, then next the system will display the generate report confirmation. Then if the user confirms, then the system will process the confirmation. If it's yes, then the system will either print or download the report. Whereas if no, it will end the system will end up. So after that, I think yeah, next I will pass it to Jeremiah to explain the supplier module.
So I'll be explaining the supplier module. So firstly, it would be so I'm going to explain the use case diagram. So it's also similar to what Wong and Ian has just said, that only owner is able to delete a supplier record, whereas uh, however the owner is actually able to access the to view, edit, and add supplier record, and these modules are only accessible by employees and owner only. So uh, so again, the owner is only able to delete the supply records. So next, for my uh, delete supply record use case description, I'll be doing the delete function for supply records, and so for the actor will be only owner, and description is only that users can delete one unwanted supply records from the system. Straightforward lah. So for the precondition of the use case is that supply records must exist in the supplier database in order to be deleted lah. So for the next, I'm going to explain the main flows of the events. So firstly, the system will display the supplier page. So then as it display, the user are able to select delete or edit or add. So for my module, I'm going to explain the delete. So the user will select the delete supply record, and then the system will display a trash icon beside each supply records specifically separately lah. So then the user will select the trash icon that they wish to delete, and then the system will prompt the user a confirmation message if the user wishes to delete the specific icon. I mean the specific record. Sorry. And then after that, the user will enter their choice, which is either yes or no. Then the system will respond by reading the user's input confirmation. So then, if the user confirms, the system will delete the supplier record from the supplier database. And after that, it will display a message that the supplier record has been successfully deleted. Then it will redirect the users back to the supplier main module page. Alright, so I'm going to explain the alternative flows of event. So for the step 8, users actually can cancel during the delete confirmation. If they cancel the confirmation, so it will return user back to step 10, which is to redirect user back to the supplier module main page lah. Yeah, and for the pause condition, the selected supplier record will be deleted from the supplier database. All right. So for the next diagram, I'm going to explain the activity diagram. So firstly, the system will display the list of supplier page, whereby the owner are able to select the delete supply record. So as they delete a supply record, which is the trash icon. I mean the delete supply record, which is the module lah. And then after it delete, if press that, the trash icon will be displayed, which means to allow users to select which records they wish to delete. So then it will, after a user has select the trash icon of the record they wish to delete, it will prompt a user a confirmation message if the user wishes to delete the specific record. So followed by that, the user will enter their confirmation. So and then after it clicks their confirmation, the system will read the user confirmation if it's confirm or cancel. So if it's cancel, it will redirect the users back to the supplier module main page and end the process. Whereby for the if user confirm, it will delete the supplier record from the system database, and it will display a successful message that the supplier record has been successfully deleted, and will redirect the users back to the supplier module main page and end the process. So for the next diagram, it will be the sequence diagram. Actually, for the sequence diagram, there are some minor error lah. So the actor supposed to be owner, but um, just to highlight here lah. And there are three lifeline, which is the UI, delete supplier, and supplier database. So for the UI, is also it represent, just like what Ian said, it represent as a part of the medium to allow system to interact the system. So firstly, uh, the this supplier will 1.0, it will display the supplier page, and whereby as user has viewed the supplier page, it will able to select the delete supplier record module. So after it's selected, the UI will send back which to display the trash icon beside each supplier records to allow users to select which record they wish to delete. So after then, they will select the trash icon of the supplier record they wish to delete. Then the UI will pass to the system, which to check if the to read the customer record, which is of the selected record of the supplier lah. So then the UI will pass back to user, which to prompt the user confirmation if they wish to delete the supplier record or not. So then as user, the 3.1 will display that select confirmation choice, where users able to select the confirmation. Then the UI will send back to the system for them to read the confirmation choice of the user. And then there will be a alternative label for a if else lah, to check if the user's confirmation. So if the user has wished to confirm, it will delete the supplier record, and then then after deleted, it will redirect users back to the supplier main page, and it will display it will display a successful message, then redirect the users to the supplier main page. Followed by, if the user has cancelled that choice, it will the system will redirect users back to the supplier main page where they are able to select the other modules lah. So for the next diagram, I'm going to explain the calibration diagram. So for the first step, which is also similar to like sequence, so it will start the supplier page, and then after that, as it directs users to select the supplier record lah, which one uh, and then user will select the delete supplier record module. Then followed by the UI will later will display uh, the display the supplier record. So then as after the users has wishes to delete the supplier record, it will read the system will read the supplier records of the user. Then after that, it will pass back and display a confirmation message for the user if they wish to delete. So if confirm, so after a user has keyed their input, it read the supplier confirmation to check if the user want to confirm or not. So then it will, if the user confirm, it will delete the supplier record in the database. Followed by, after deleted, it will display the successful message to user, whereby it will redirect the users back to the supplier main page again. All right. So for the lastly, I'm going to explain the state chart diagram. So users, as they wish to delete the supplier record, has entered the delete supplier record module. So it will retrieve and read the selected supplier records lah. So then it will process all the information, and it will display the delete if to check if the supplier records exist or not. So then it will display a confirmation page, a confirmation message, whereby if the user wishes to delete, so then if the user confirms, it will delete the record lah. Whereby if it doesn't confirm, it will end the process, and it will return back to the main page. Yeah. So that's all for my module. I'm going to pass the payment module for Nathan to explain.
So for my part, I will be talking about a payment module. So so for the owner can delete the payment record as well as the function of the employee, like view payment details, generate monthly report, edit payment details, add payment record, add new payment record. So for the employees cannot delete the payment record. Only the owners can. So the employee can view the payment details, generate monthly report, edit payment details, add new payment record. So next, for the use case description. So the name of the use case is edit payment details. For my actor is the employee and owner. The description, the brief description is user can edit and update payment record in the system. The precondition is the payment record must exist in the system, the payment database first. So next, uh, so firstly, the system will respond, will display the payment page. Then the actor will select the payment details. Then the system will respond, will display the edit payment form. Then the actor will select the edit customer payment details. The system will then read and validate the entered payment details. So if all the input values or data is valid, we will prompt user for confirmation of updating the existing payment record. So next, so the user have to enter the confirmation choice. So the system will then read and check the user confirmation. If the user confirmed the update payment record into the system database, it will then display successful update payment record message and redirect the user back to the payment module main page. So for the alternative flow, uh, if if in step 5, if input value or data is invalid, it will display an error message and prompt the user back to step 4. So step 4 is edit customer payment details. Yeah. So next, for step 8, if the user cancel, it will cancel the current add function and prompt the user to step 11. So step 11 is redirect the user back to the payment module page. So for the precondition is selected payment record will selected payment record in the payment database will be updated. So now I will talk about my activity diagram. So firstly, uh, it will display the payment page. Then the user have to edit the payment details. Then the system will display edit payment form. Then the user will edit the customer payment details. So you will read and validate the entered payment details. Then if invalid, it will display an error message. If valid, you will prompt user confirmation to update payment record. Then the user have to enter the confirmation choice. Then you will read the confirmation choice, and then if user cancel, if you redirect the user back to the module main page. If the user confirm, you update payment record into the system database and display the successful updated payment record message and redirect back the user to the payment module. Yeah, so for the sequence diagram, the state chart the sequence diagram consists of uh, one control, that is the update payment UI, and two boundaries, that is the update payment and payment database. So the steps are all the same. So we display the payment page, then the user have to select edit payment record, then the payment UI will display back edit payment form. Then the user have to enter the payment record. Then it will read and validate the entered payment details. So it will go into a loop. So it will display the error. So if invalid, it will display error message, and it will display edit payment form. Then the user have to enter the payment record and read and validate the entered payment details. So if valid, it will prompt the user for confirmation of updating the existing payment record. Then it will select confirmation. The user have to select the confirmation choice. It will then read user confirmation choice. Then it will display the successful message. You redirect, or no, if you update the payment record into a database and display a successful message and redirect back the user to the payment module page. Yeah, so for the collaboration diagram, so for the collaboration diagram, all the steps are the same, but it is shown in a different format. So it start from start from 1 to 9. So for the state chart diagram, So firstly, it also has the same steps. So the user have to edit a payment. So if you go into a retrieving state, then you read edit payment. If you then go to the processing state, you process if invalid, if you ask the user to re-enter, then if you ask the user to retry. So if valid, you go to the confirmation state. If you then read the update payment confirmation, you then go to the processing state. So if the confirmation is yes, then you update, then end. If no, you also end. So so for the deployment diagram, so as we can see, this deployment diagram has three nodes. There is the user, there is user PC, car service server, and database server. In the user PC node, it has an artifact that is called management system.exe. Uh, for the car service, and the server and the database server, they both consist of customer inventory, supplier, and payment component. So for the relationship of the deployment diagram is, so one or more user PC can be logged into one car service server. The car service server may allow one or more user PC to be logged in together. So for the second relationship, the car service server can only be connected to one database server. The database server can only be connected to one car service server. So that's all for us. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Ian, Wong, Jeremiah, and Nathan. Thank you for your presentation. So, is there any question from student? Is there any question from Tan Sunyap Daniel? Do you have any question to ask to this group? Or are you guys busy preparing for your turn? Okay, I have question. Of course, I have question to each of you actually. So, your group here is HC Auto Service Center. Okay, HC Auto Service Center. So basically, in your group here, you have four basic function. I mean, in your system, sorry. In the system that you are trying to propose here, you have four basic function, which is add, delete, edit, or view for your actor. Is it correct?
Yeah.
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 Yes, right. Add, delete, edit, and view. Okay, easy job. Okay, so I want to ask Ian. Ian, if I ask you to arrange the function of these four function add, delete, edit, and view, can you arrange this function in sequence for one process? Let's say it is
What?
a new.
Or you mean like say a scenario like in one process lah?
Yeah.
Oh,
If I
okay.
give you a scenario.
So let's say I do my customer module lah. So the customer module, let's say I want to add a new customer first because at first so add the new customer record first. After it adds, let's say I make something wrong, I want to edit stuff, so I can go to edit and edit it out. After that, maybe I want to view it to like make sure that it's inside and it has been edited. So if I can go to the view function and maybe I say I don't want to delete. I don't want this one in the system already. So I can delete. So basically, the sequence is like add, view or delete,
Edit.
and view or edit,
Edit.
then delete. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think honestly, your group the function is quite easy actually. Add, delete, edit, and view. So the common flow usually like mentioned by Ian just now, first we need to edit considering we want to add a new customer, and then second it's either edit or view first, and then the last one should be delete. Hmm. Okay, I have a second question for Ian here. In your use case detail, let me scroll.
Is it description?
Sorry. Yeah, use case description. Sorry,
Oh,
use case
okay.
description. What is it mean actually by the alternative flow?
Alternative flow means that it can go what areas it can go. So basically it's like a if statement. So let's say like step 5, if the data is invalid, then it will go to here. Whereas if it's valid, then it will go to what has expected, which is to proceed to the confirmation. So this one is like another situation where the data is invalid, then it will happen. It will process what function like that.
Yeah, so alternative is like we have a condition that we need to check if that condition meet with our situation or not,
Mm.
or with our flow or not. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Ian.
All right, thank you, Miss.
Then I have question to Wong. Okay. Wong, what? I only write Wong here. I think only one Wong, right? Yeah, Wong. So in inventory patch, so what do you think that you can view in the inventory patch?
Oh, in the inventory page, you can view like product details, product ID, product name, and the stock. Yeah, the quantity of the product.
Okay, correct. Inventory patch. And then second, I have second question to you regarding your stat chart diagram.
State
Stat
chart
chart diagram. Let
diagram.
me scroll first. This one is on second file. Stat chart diagram. Wong. Yeah, stat chart diagram. So I want to ask you what is the flow um, of your system here, because you designed this, so you know this system well better than me. But I want to ask you, what is sequence or stat chart diagram?
So firstly, if the user selected, if the user wants to has selected to view inventory details, it will retrieve the data from the database, which is the inventory details. Yeah, then the system will then display a generate report confirmation, which will prompt the user either to generate a report or not. So in confirmation, it will read the user's confirmation. Then it will process. The system will process either if the user's confirmation is a no or yes. If it's a yes, then the system will either print or download a report. Whereas if it's a no, then the system will end the state. Yeah, the system will go to an end. Then,
Mm.
or if it's a yes, after they have either after the system have print or download the report, then it will display a successful message.
Okay. So I want to ask you, in stat chart diagram, what is actually this? Oh, sorry, you cannot see my screen, right? What is the retrieve confirmation processing here and print or download? What is it?
It's a process to retrieve the data. It's actually a
It's a process.
process.
In stat chart diagram, what do we show in our diagram actually? Maybe
The
other teammate want to help?
Is it the state of the system?
Yeah, the state of the
Who?
system. Nathan.
Nathan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan and Ian. So yes, thank you, Nathan. Oh, stat diagram, actually we don't show the whole process. It's not that we don't show the whole process or the whole flow, but in stat chart diagram we only show like this one. This one is level or stat. Okay. Yeah, and level or stat. Correct. So in each level or stat we need something like event or process that trigger the change of process. Okay, that one. Okay, thank you, Wong.
okay, thanks, Miss.
And then, okay, I have next is Jeremiah. So Jeremiah, regarding the last night you WhatsApp me, right? Regarding the minor thing that you want to change, that you want to correct.
Yes.
You already highlighted just now, right? I remember I heard you said that. The actor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will take note on that because that one is minor only. It's okay for that one. So yours is delete, right? You explained regarding the delete function just now.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, okay, in your opinion, I just want to ask your opinion regarding the logic of a system. Okay, I want to ask you, if, for example, if we delete the, let's say, we delete a customer from our DB, from our database. Let's say I delete a customer from our DB. Is it possible for you to retrieve back the DB? Or is it possible for you to retrieve back the detail? This one is opinion only.
Uh, I I don't think uh you're able to retrieve it anymore lah, unless you add the re-add the customer detail that you have deleted, because we didn't implement the backup function lah uh for the deleted supplier.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's opinion only. So I want to ask, this is the group, right? Where, if I'm not mistaken, this is the group who wrongly used the notation for end process. Is it? And I screenshot, is it this group? I think your group, right?
Minor, yeah, I think it's us.
Yeah. No, I just want to ask because everyone, right, in your group, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, everyone in your group used the wrong notation. However, the notation you use is the same between four of you. So yeah, is there any way that you guys refer to the use of that notation last time? Or you guys refer to one person only? So when one person is wrong, everyone is wrong. Or am I wrong with the screenshot that I sent you guys? Uh, no, I'm just curious because like everyone is make the same mistake because I see every detail in your work. So I want to ask, what is the source actually? Why everyone have the same use? Because notation, right? Notation, I cannot let that one slide last time. So I just want to ask Jeremiah,
Yes.
what is the source last time? Why is everyone have the same mistake? Or is it me? I am wrong? Or hmm,
Uh,
the notation, right? Mm,
the end notation, right?
yeah, I remember I screenshot. Or the
Uh,
screenshot is wrong.
but actually,
Mm,
we also referred to like on the internet lah, that we also seen that the annotation is also like that symbol also. So we also like we thought it's like it can be used as like that. So we also like implement that also lor, the annotation.
okay then. Yeah, one source for everyone. Okay. Okay then. Okay, thank you, Jeremiah. I have next question to Nathan. This one is 5.0 deployment diagram. The last one presented just now, deployment diagram. 5.0, yeah, 5.0 deployment diagram. So in your deployment diagram here, we have user, car service, and a car server, car service server, and DB server. Okay, DB server. So in your DB server, from DB server, you can only have one car service server, right?
Yeah,
The relationship here.
1 to 1.
I want to ask you, yeah, one to one from DB database server to car service server. Why do you need car service server? That's mean you put the car service server under the DB server, is it?
Or this
I don't know.
database server have the customer table, inventory table, supplier table, and payment table like that.
What is the difference between DB server here and car service server?
The the server can go into the database server to get the info, get data from database.
So here, your car service server, is that a server? The car service server. Is that a server itself?
It is a server that has the customer module, inventory module, and supplier module and payment module. So customer can get the customer table data.
So because you have two server here, car service server and then DB server.
Or so it
Or
should be not be a server.
huh?
It shouldn't be a server.
I think so. Wong, what do you think, Wong? Or can you explain? Or oh, it's raining here.
I think the database server is a server to contain the details of the like each module. Then for car service server it is mainly contains the like the functions of the module, like like add, delete, retrieve data,
Why?
and add.
Why do you use the term server here 2 times? Do you know what is server? Jeremiah, what do you think, Jeremiah? Or Ian, I want to ask you because you use the term server here 2 times. So, yeah. What is the difference between car service server? I know you said that this one is they have different content, but for one system, why do you need to put? I will no because server is where we store our DB. Okay, so the DB of your management system exe here, if you even it is correct, if you pack this user, oh sorry, if you pack, I mean if you store the management system exe under car service server, okay, but why you have to extend to another DB server? What is the function of server actually?
To do operations
Like
like calculations like that.
process like that.
Server to do calculation?
I mean those adding function delete function.
Okay then.
The car service server is like a application server where we store all the functions and the code lah. Basically, every functions and processes are done at the car service server. So it's like a application server lah. Then for the database server, it's a different thing. It is only stores like all the data, such as the customer inventory, order, supplier, payment, and so on lah. So this one is only like a storage only, whereas the car service server is like the brain of the system lah. Means all the functions are performed at the server. So there are two separate servers lah. One is database and one is the
So for one EX here, for one application here, you need two server. Is it?
No, it only
You said
access the
separate.
car service server. The server access the database server, so users don't need to like go through the database server. It only access the car service server only.
Because here in your car service server, you have customer inventory, supplier payment, same goes to DB server, right? For it's already 1 hour. So I will accept your explanation just now, Ian. However, not only to this group actually, for other group, because you are computer science student, you need to be very careful when you use the term server. Okay? Because as I can see here from the flow, this management system, it will go to the car service server, and then this car service server again will park under the DB server. So when you play with the term DB and server, it is not dangerous. I mean, like it is not complicated. However, the use of the DB server, and here you have another server, car service server here. So next time, because you're a computer science student, so you need to be very careful when you're using this term server here. Okay. Because if I am the reader or if I am the programmer, I read this document and I see this diagram, my first what's the term? My first understanding is we need 2 server for one system. I know from your diagram here you didn't connect the user to database server, but however we have the flow from user to car service and car service to DB. It's like 2 connecting server. I will let it slide this time, but for next time be careful with the use with the term server. Okay, group. Is that okay? Am I lagging because it's raining here?
No, it's okay. It's smooth.
Okay, yep, that one is my explanation. Because I was quite confused actually when I see this diagram. I didn't understand why you need to use 2 server. Okay, so from other student, is there any question? Usually, okay, actually it's not only for car service here. No, Ella, I have a question. Oh, let me answer first, okay? Usually in real life, not only for car service, okay, for any system, we will we will store, we will park that system under 1 DB. Okay, unless, like I mentioned, you need to production DB or testing DB, testing server. So usually, yes, we will only put under 1 DB, and that 1 DB we will put under 1 server. DB is one server, we can have multiple. The same DB actually we will put under different server. Yeah. Or maybe this group, Jonathan, Ian, you want to add or correct my statement just now based on Noel question? Yeah.
Actually, I think it's more to what you want to do, what the system, how the system will be implemented. You can put database and the application server thing together, or you can separate it. It's up to you. I mean, it's up to how the system is implemented like that.
Application and the DB.
You
You
can
can
separate
put
it.
in one server.
You can put it together into one server, or you can separate it. It's up to how it's implemented.
Oh, I never really. If you want
And
to
the cost
separate,
as well. Yeah, and the cost as well.
okay, that's your opinion. But in real life, usually they will put together so it will easier for maintenance actually. Okay, but that one is different. It's up to you guys. It's up to the company actually. Okay, so that one is for Noel. Other question? Or other student is busy preparing for their next presentation. Okay, I think good presentation from your team, Ian, Wong, and Jeremiah, and Nathan as well. Okay, so thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next, who is this? Already. Noel, right? Noel, Lim, Daniel, Shak, Wong. Yours is what? Oh, stop and shop. Okay. Wow.
Testing. So, good afternoon. Our group 2 will be presenting the Stop and Shop online store system. And we're going to the introduction. So, can you, Kelvin?
For our organization and current system background is there's a Stop and Shops convenience store that sells various everyday items in Shah Alam. However, this store doesn't have the online store system. As a result, the sale performance is low compared to other stores. So to solve this problem, we propose a system called the online store system so that the convenience store will be up to date, can compete with the with the other stores in the trend. Yeah.
So I will present for the problem faced by the current system. So the system itself, the system itself is actually only doesn't have any website or any system, any online system. So it's just mainly focusing for customer, for only for customer have to physically need to go to the store to buy the stuff. And which now that currently for now, like COVID-19, for example, like COVID-19, actually the store they can provide the provide which the problem faced by the current system, which only the system itself on the current system only provide a physical need customer physical present in the store, which make some customer that doesn't want to go outside and go outside or visit or need to lazy physical go to the store to buy stuff. So by creating a online website to that by creating online website, it will allow the customer easy to find and order their product from the store itself. So the next slide. So the next slide, what function will be added? We will implement. The staff will need to add other staff member to be as admin to use the system as they will add, update, and remove the product from the website itself. So they can this one is for the staff as admin is actually for the managing the product inside the website. So they can easy managing, and also they can create a catalog for the customer to view the product itself. So for the customer, they can use the online website to add the product into their shopping cart to the website itself. So it's also the website also allow customer to make transaction, online transaction through the website by using online banking, PayPal, or debit or credit. So but before a customer able to access the website itself, they need to register. They need to register to the website itself, so they can perform all the features that we mentioned previously, and also they can view and update the products. So they can which they can update, which allow them to view what they have been bought during what have been bought from the website itself. Okay. For the module will be identified will be product browsing module, checkout module, administrator module, product module, and customer module. So I will continue the presentation to the
hello. Okay, so now
the
I'm going
list
to
for
present
the
the product browsing module, the function requirement. So first, the system shall enable the customer to view the list of all the products offered by the system by navigating to the product browsing page. And then the sub-function requirement is the system shall enable the customer to view the details of the product displayed in the product list by clicking the product. So the next function requirement is the system shall enable the customers to search for specific product by inputting the product's name in the search input and display the search result as a list. And then the system shall also enable the customer to view the details of the product displayed in the search result by clicking it. And if the system does not find the product the customer are searching for, the system shall display an error dialog box informing the customer that the product they search for cannot be found or does not exist. The third functional requirement is the system shall enable the customer to add product to the shopping cart by clicking the Add to Cart button displayed next to the product they want, and regardless of whether they are authenticated or not. When the authenticated customer left the website, the system shall erase and remove the content of the shopping cart. So if the customer added product into the shopping cart while they are authenticated, when they log in, the system shall synchronize the content of the shopping cart with the customer existing shopping cart. After the system added the product to the customer shopping cart, the system shall display a success error message informing the customer that the product has been successfully added to the shopping cart. Yeah, next. The system shall only allow authenticated customer to add products to their wishlist by clicking the Add to Wishlist button displayed next to the product they want. If an authenticated user try to add product to their wishlist, the system shall display a message informing the customer that they must log in first. So if the authenticated user accepts the login request, the system shall display a login form for the customer to log in and authenticate themselves. So if the customer rejects the login request, then the system shall inform the customer that they must log in first before they can add the product into their wishlist. So after the system added the product to the customer wishlist, the system shall display a message to inform the customer that the product has been successfully added into their wishlist.
So next will be the functional requirement for the checkout module. So the first one is the system shall enable customer to view transaction details. Details are such as shipping information, which consists of selected delivery option, delivery address, order total, selected product quantity, product subtotal, shipping subtotal, payment method, order ID, order time, payment time, and delivery time. So the next one is the system shall enable customer to select preferred payment method. So customer is allowed to select preferred payment methods such as e-wallet, online banking, credit debit card, or COD. And the next one is the system shall enable customer to select preferred shipping option and preferred delivery time. So customer are allowed to select preferred shipping options such as standard delivery or economy delivery based on delivery fees. Both of the options are differentiated by the estimated days on successful delivery, whereby standard delivery is few days or 1 week faster than economy delivery. So the next is the system shall allow customers to select preferred delivery time such as delivery at any time or during office hour. And the next one is the system shall enable customers to place order, and the system also is to generate and receive to the customer. And the next one is the system shall enable customer to cancel order. So cancel order, customer shall provide feedback on behalf of cancel order, and the refund shall be made within 14 working days.
I was presenting the functional requirement for administrator module first. The first requirement is the system will be, the admin will be able to add new administrator, and then the administrator will have should be able to enter the related details such as name, position, phone number, ID, and password. And the administrator cannot have duplicate. The administrator added cannot have duplicate ID and or email. And then also allow the administrator to delete other administrators. They can delete other administrator by selecting them from a list of the administrator. Yeah, next. And then they also can allow them to update other administrator details. They also cannot duplicate the ID of the other administrator. And finally, the administrator can also see a list of other administrator in the system when they want.
So I will present my functional requirement for product module. The product module is mainly focusing for the administrator to add, which is the staff that I previous mentioned. So the administrator should able to add new product which they need to add product details, including the names, the category, size, quantity, barcode, price, and image itself. So you also need to the administrator should not fill the product details all caps, necessary symbols, and keyword spam, and which the system will decline the product details, and it will reject and need the administrator to rewrite it, to type it to the correct form. And if the administrator add the existing product, the system will also decline the product as it detect the duplicates within the database itself. If within the database itself, so there it can to prevent redundancy within the database itself. So next slide. So for the number two, which is the updating the product catalog, the administrator, which is the staff, have the ability to edit the product details, which to correct the mistake which include spelling typo, wrong price of the product, image of the product, or need to update up to date, which need to up to date. For the next slide. So number three was the system should enable the administrator to delete product from the catalog, which the administrator have the ability to remove it, have the ability to remove a specific product that is not needed, or like the product will not have been will not get supplied by a specific supplier, or product that will not be manufactured anymore. For the next slide. The system also enable the administrator to view the product history, which enable the administrator to see the product history, which include the amount of product stock and product sale has been bought by the customer, how many items that they have been bought, how many product sales that have been profitable from the specific product. So I will continue. So I will continue to Noel for functional requirement customer module.
So for my customer module, so the first functional requirement is the system shall enable customer to update their account details. So once the customer has already logged in, they can update their account details such as phone number, email address, and password. And secondly, the system shall enable customer to view their own account details. So once the customer log in into the account, the system shall enable the customer to view all the accounts. They can view all the information within their account. And if the customer found any mistake in their account details, they can just directly click the update account details and change accordingly in the same page. So third is the system shall enable customer to view their purchase history. So once the customer already made a purchase, they can view their purchase history. They can see which the purchase date, the order total, and items purchased. And this is the overview use case diagram. So here the administrators can manage administrator and products. And secondly, the customer can manage customer accounts, manage transaction, and also browse products.
So for the product browsing module use case, first the customer can view the product list and search product, and both of these use cases are extended. to the view product details use case. And then next is the add to shopping cart use case, and it is extended by the customer authentication use case. And finally is the add product to wishlist use case, and it includes the customer authentication use case.
So for the use case for checkout module, the customer can view transaction records, select payment method, select shipping option, which it extended to allow the customer to select delivery time also. So the next one is the place order, which also extended to allow the customer, allow the system to generate and receive if the customer had placed an order. So the next one is cancel order. So if the customer has cancel order, so he or she is allowed to select cancel reason, and the system will generate a refund function.
Yeah, for the admin module, the administrator can add administrator, and they can, when they find administrator, they have option to remove the administrator or update the administrator detail. Yeah, that's all.
This use case diagram is based on the functional requirement. So the actor will be perform is administrator, which they can perform add product, which is I mentioned to add product details, update product, which is to update up to date the product, the number, the amount, to redo, to correct the mistake that like, for example, to correct the mistake, for example, spelling typo, image itself. For view product history is for the third one is to view product history, is to view the amount of sales and the stock. And the last one is delete product, which is have the ability to delete a specific product that has been stopped supplied by the supplier, or the product will be not manufactured by a specific company anymore. So yeah, I will continue the customer product module to the point.
So for customer module, there are three use cases, which is update account details, and secondly is the view user details, which include the update account details, and lastly is the view purchase history, as explained before this.
So for the product browsing module, the use case description is add product to wish list. So the first action is, first the customer navigate to the product browsing page, and then the system will display the list of product offered by the shop. And next, the customer will click the add to wish list button next to the product they want to add. And next, the system will first check if the customer is authenticated, whether they are logged in or not. If the customer is authenticated, which means they are logged in, then the system will add the selected product to the customer wish list. When the product is added to the customer wish list, the system will display a success dialog box to inform the customer that the product has been successfully added to the wish list. So the first alternative flow is the customer inside the product browsing page. The customer also can search for a product first, and then after the result came out, then the customer can and then click the product from the search result to add the product into the wish list. So if the product customer search for doesn't exist, then the system shall display a error message informing the customer that the product they want to find is not exist in the system. So the next alternative flow is, so if at the step 4, when the system is checking whether the customer is authenticated, so if the customer is not authenticated, then the system shall prompt a dialog box requesting the customer to log in first before continuing. So if the customer accept the login request, then the system shall display a login form for the customer to log in. So if the customer reject the login request, then the system shall inform the customer that they cannot add the product to their wish list if they are not logged in.
So the next one will be the use case description for the checkout module. So the name of the use case is to select payment method. This use case allows customers to select preferred payment method in order to place order. So the actors is the customers, and the precondition is the customer must first select product to be purchased. So the first action is that the customer navigate to the payment method list, and the second is the system shall display payment method list. And after that, the customer will select preferred payment method. And next, the system will display the list of action available for the selected payment method and prompt the customer to select an action. And next, the customer will select actions prompt by the system. After that, the customer will select confirm payment method. And lastly, the system will record the selected payment method and display to customer in the transaction detail list. So for the alternative flows, the first alternative flow is that if the customer select a respective e-wallet such as the Boost or the Touch and Go, system will prompt for authentication such as e-wallet username and password. So if the account does not exist or there is an error input, the system will display an error message. So customer has to repeat the above step again. So if the account exists, the system will display the amount of the account. So if the amount is not enough to pay the total price, customer is required to top up the amount until it meets the respective transaction total price. So if amount is enough, customer can proceed to step 6, which is the confirm payment method. So for the second alternative flow, which is the customer select a respective bank, system will redirect customer to selected bank website and prompt for authentication such as username and password again. So if account does not exist or there is an error input, system will display error messages. So customer has to repeat the above step again. So if the account exists, the system will display the amount in the account. So if amount is not enough to pay the total price, the customer has to repeat the above step again, which is to top up the amount until it meets the uh, total transaction total price. So if the amount is enough, customer can proceed to step 6, which is the confirm payment method. So for the third alternative flow, which is the customer select credit or debit card, system will prompt customer to select existing card or add new card. So if customer select existing card, system will navigate customer to OTP authentication page, where the OTP will send to customer smartphone and prompt customer to input the respective OTP. So if the OTP is invalid or expired, system will display invalid or expired OTP messages. Then navigate customer to payment method list again. So if OTP is valid, system will display the amount in the card. And if the amount is not enough to pay total price, the system will display insufficient amount messages and prompt customer to select another payment method. So if amount is enough, customer can proceed to confirm payment method. So if customer select to add new card, system will prompt customer to input name on card number, card type, expiry date, CCV, and billing address. So if new card information is invalid, system will display invalid card messages and refresh the page for customer to repeat the above step again. So if new card is valid, system will save the added card information for customer future payment selection and select it as this time payment method. The system will then display the amount in the card, and if the amount is not enough to pay the total price, the system display insufficient amount message and prompt the customer to select another payment method type. So if amount is enough, customer can proceed to select confirm payment method. So for the last alternative flow, the customer select COD, which is the cash on delivery, then he or she can directly proceed to confirm payment method. So, okay. So for the post condition, the system will lastly record the customer payment method and enable customer to place order. So next pass on to Kevin.
I'll be presenting the use case for the admin module. The use case will be add administrator. So for this one, the administrator will first click the administrator button. And then the system will prompt the administrator with a details form. After that, the administrator will fill in the related details, and then the system will check if the details are valid. The system will add, if it is valid, the system will add the new administrator detail with the new administrator with the related details. And then the system will display a success message to inform the administrator that it's successfully added. For the alternative flow is for when the administrator enter the invalid details, the system will prompt the customer to re-enter the details again with a invalid input error message. And for the post condition, if having success, there will be a new administrator account added to the system. Yeah.
So we present for product module. Name the use case. The function requirement that I choose is add product details. So briefly description, the use case allow administrators to add product details in the online store system. The actor will be the administrator. Precondition: the user must be located in the system. So the action actor first, the administrator must they have to click add product button. So it will direct to the system. So the system will be respond, and by prompting the product fill form page, and then the administrator will fill the product details in the form and click form button and click the form button. The product details, the system will save the product details in the product administrator database, which also simultaneously system will display the new product in the catalog. So the alternative flow will be A1 step 3. If the administrator fill in the product details with all caps, unnecessary symbols, keywords, and keyword spam, the system will decline the product details. And the second one is if an administrator add an existing product, the system will decline the product and detect duplication. And the precondition, the product will be added and displayed in the product catalog. So the next slide will be customer module.
So for my use case, it's about the update account details. So this use case allow customer to update their account details. So the actors is customer, and the precondition is the user must log into the system. So first, the customer click on the update account details. Then secondly, it will show a form, fill a form so that they can input a new account details such as phone number, email address, and password. Then after they fill in, they will proceed to click on the save button. Then if the details is valid, the information will be saved into the system's database. So the alternative flow for step 4, if the customer entered the wrong email format, the system will display an error message and prompt the email address again. And secondly, if the customer enter a weak password, the system will display an error message and ask for a stronger password. And third is, if the user change their mind and decide not to update their account details, the customer can just click the cancel button. So the post condition is the customer account details is updated.
So the first activity diagram is the product browsing module and is for the add product to wishlist use case. So first the customer will search for a product and the system will find the product first. If the product doesn't exist, then the system will display error message and the process and data. And if the product is found, then the system will display the search result. And after that, the customer can choose to add the product to wish list. So if customer add the product to wish list, then the system will first check the customer authentication status. If the customer is authenticated, then the system will add the product into customer wish list, and the wish list state will be updated. And after that, the system will display a success message. So if the customer is not authenticated, then the system will first request the customer to log in into the system first. If the customer reject the login request, then the process will end there. So if the customer accept the login request, the system shall display a login form to prompt the customer to log in. Then the customer can enter the login credential. The system will verify the login credential. If the login credential is valid, then the system will continue to add the customer product into wish list. If the customer login credential is invalid, then the system shall display a message. So an alternative flow for all of this is customer can also search a product and then wait for the no, customer can straight away add the product to wishlist also if they want, instead of searching the product.
So the next activity diagram is the checkout module, which is to allow the customer to select e-wallet as payment method. So first, the customer will navigate to payment method list, and the system will display the payment method list. So the customer will then select e-wallet as his or her payment method. So after that, system will prompt for authentication. So customer has to input username and password, and after that, system will check the authentication status. So if the input username and password is not exist or invalid, the system will then display an error message. So if the account has successfully authenticated, the system will display amount in the wallet. So if the amount is insufficient, the customer has to top up the wallet. And after the customer had top up the wallet, the system will check again the wallet amount. So if the amount is insufficient, the system will display an insufficient amount message and prompt the user to top up the wallet again until it reaches the total transaction total price. So if the amount is sufficient, the customer can then navigate to select confirm payment method, and then the system will record the payment method, and lastly will display the payment method in the transaction detail list.
For the admin module diagram, it shows the first one action is click the admin button, and then the system will display the detail form, and then the admin will fill in the details. Then next step is the system will verify the input details. If it's invalid, it should display the invalid input error message and then ask them to fill in the detail again. And if it's valid, it will show that it will add a new administrator and then display a success message, and then end the program.
This one is based on the use case. So first, the administration will click the add product. So if click the add product, it's also you also go to the product filling form, filling the product, filling product details. You also it will show, so to confirm, so it will confirm the confirm product. And before that, we will check the syntax error. If no error, it's like keyword span, details, everything. With no error, it will add new product add to catalog. If an error, the product will not add to catalog. So I will. This is for the valid. Valid. For the alternative is that's for the first alternative. The second alternative is the click add product, which is to detect the redundancy. So if you have duplicate the product, the product will decline, and the concept will be end. If you don't have duplicate, we will check the syntax. We check the syntax error, and the process will be again have check any the existing product within the database itself. It will go to new product. It will go add product. New product add in catalog, which is displayed. And if have error, it will not add in the
For my part, same as the use case before this. So the customer add the update account details, then the system will display the account details filling form. So if the customer change their mind to cancel, they can directly click the cancel button and but if they continue, they can just fill in the account details and click save. So if the details is all valid, then it will put in the system database. If it's invalid, it will prompt the customer to fill in the correct details again. So that's it.
So the next will be our initial class diagram. I'm going to explain the relationship between each of the entities listed in the class diagram. So first for the administrator and the product entities, each administrator can manage zero or many products, whereby each product can be managed by one or many administrator. So the next one is transaction and product entity. So a transaction must contain at least one or many products, where each product may belongs to zero or many transaction. So the third one is customer and shopping cart entity. So a customer can have one and only one shopping cart, and each shopping cart can belongs to one or can belongs to one and only one customer. So the next one is the shopping cart and the product entity. So a shopping cart contains zero or many products, and each product may belongs to zero or many shopping carts. And the next is the customer and the wishlist entity. So a customer can have one and only one wishlist, and each wish list can belongs to one and only one customer. And next is the wishlist and product entity. So a wishlist contains zero or many products, and each product may belong to zero or many wishlists. Next is the customer and transaction entity. A customer can make zero or many transactions, whereby one transaction can only belongs to one and only one customer. And lastly is the administrator and the administrator entity itself. So an administrator can manage zero or many administrators, but each administrator can be managed by zero or one administrator.
This is the fragment sequence diagram. Next. So this is the sequence diagram for the add product to wishlist. So first, the product browser control lifeline will you get all the product from the product lifeline and then initiate to start the interface, and the call will be made to the product browser UI. And after that, the user can optionally search the product. User can search the product, and the product browser boundary control will get the product from the product left line. And if the product if the product exists, then the product browser controller will display the search result. to the product browser UI. If the product does not exist, then it will display an error message. So next, the customer can add the product to wish list. First, the action will be called to the product browser UI, and then the product browser UI will call the add to wish list to the product browser control. And then first, it will authenticate the customer first. So if the customer is not authenticated, it will display a. Also, if the customer is authenticated, it will display a success message to the customer, and then add the item into a customer wish list. So if the customer is authenticated, it will request the customer to log in. So if the customer accepts the login request, it will display a login form for the customer to log in. And then after that, the customer can enter its login credential. And then the system will authenticate the customer login credential. If the credential is correct, then it will display a success message and then add the product into customer wish list. If the login credential is not is not valid, then it will display a message to the customer. So if the customer reject the login request just now, then it will also display a error message.
So the next will be the sequence diagram for the checkout module. So the start interface is start from the select payment UI. So the customer can first select the payment UI. So the select payment UI lifeline will then display the authentication form. So the customer will enter a login credential, and the authentication will then be carried to the authentication lifeline. So let's say the customer is successfully authenticated, then the account lifeline will get the account details of the customer and then display the account details to the customer. So if the account amount is enough, the customer can then confirm the payment method, and the payment method will then carry to the order lifeline, which is to update the selected payment method. And lastly, we'll display the transaction details back to the customer. So if the account amount is not enough, the customer is still required to enter the top-up amount, which the amount will then carry to the account lifeline to update it and display back to the customer about the account details. So if the amount is after the top up, the amount is still not enough, then the customer had to go through a loop, which is keep topping up until it reaches the transaction total price. So let's say if the account amount is enough for the transaction total price, then the customer can then break the loop and then proceed to confirm payment method, and the selected payment method will then carry to the order lifeline, which is to update the selected payment method. And lastly, the system will display the selected payment UI lifeline will then display the transaction details to the customer. So all of that, if the last scenario is the invalid account credential. So if the customer input username and password is invalid, then the select payment UI will display an error message to the customer.
Yeah. For the admin module, for add new administrator, the system will first start the interface, and then the customer will click add administrator button. After that, the UI will display the detail form for the customer, where the customer will then fill in the details. After that, after filling details, they check the admin details. After that, it will check if it's got invalid or valid or not. So if it's invalid, it will display error message and prompt the fill in again. And then if it's a success, it will add the new admin to the add new administrator into the database, and then display success message.
I will present the product review. So sequence diagram. So before that, and the product, which is the I make a change it for system. I name it product. So start interface to the product UI. So the administrator they click the new product details request. So it will go through to the product which is the system itself requesting the product details form, and we will show the product details form to the administrator, and then they will add the new product to the database. We will store in the database, which also in the simultaneously it will display the new product to the catalog. For alternative, for the valid data, which I make it to which I create so we created for the form itself. So if the new product details are valid for the validation, it will display a successful message if the new product does not have any mistake or any redundancy or any typo. If for the invalid product details input, it will display error message which the administrator have to re-enter it and re-enter and so they are successfully to add the new product into the database, and it will display the new product. For the next slide, okay, customer module.
So first it will start the interface to the interface module. Then the customer can click the update account details. Then it will request the account details form from the user account control. Then it will then display in the UI. Then if once the customer change their mind to cancel, they can just click the cancel button and they will direct the customer to the view account page. But if they continue, they can just enter the new account details. And if it's valid, it will update the account, send it to the control, and then it will update to the database and will display the show success message to the customer. Else, if the details is invalid, it will show the error message again.
Sorry, you can hear me, right? So
Can
next
skip.
is your here from your report here. So next is a collaboration diagram, right? So sorry to jump in, but in collaboration diagram, is it? Yeah, in collaboration diagram, the flow is the same, right? The difference is only on the diagram that we use. Okay,
Yeah.
collaboration diagram. Yeah, I already checked the report. So collaboration diagram, and after collaboration diagram, we have a
State
setup
chart.
module here. Yeah, I think for collaboration diagram, you guys can skip that one because
Skip. Okay.
the flow is actually, yeah, I'm actually scrolling it, the report. So is that okay with your teammate? Because it is actually, the flow is actually the same.
Cancel. Save time.
Yeah, I see here. So you can start from stat chart diagram, Wang Zisheng 3.1.
Okay, so my chart diagram for the domain classes I choose is the wishes item. So first, when a wishes item is created, if the product quantity is 0, then the state will be out of stock. If the quantity is more than 1, then the state of the wishes item will be available. So if the restock function is called, so which means the product has been restocked, then the state of the wishes item will change from out of stock to available. And then when the customer remove the wishes item from its wish list, the state of the wishes item will change from either out of stock and available to remove. And if the customer bought the item in his or her wish list, then the wishes item will also change its state into remove.
So the next state chart diagram is for the checkout module. So first, the customer will select a payment method, and then the payment method will carry on to the authentication part. So if the login credential validity is approved, then the customer can then proceed to the account details, which is to show the amount of the account. So if the amount is insufficient, then the customer is to top up its account amount until it meets the transaction total price. So you can see that there is a loop for there. It keep update the account amount until it reaches the total transaction total price. So let's say the top up is sufficient now. So the amount is sufficient. Then the system will then uh, uh, allow the customer to select the payment method.
Lim, I'm
Yeah,
sorry
it's
to interrupt your presentation. You have class at 2, right?
yeah.
I think we can stop here. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. We can stop up to this, Lim.
Oh, okay.
Okay, miss.
Oh, wait. Let me write first. Lim checkout module. Okay. So we'll continue up from this patch later. I mean, up from this part later. But your presentation will be on Monday because we have class on Monday. So our class, we only have like 15 more slides to go for the last chapter. So we'll continue our presentation on Monday. Okay, is that okay with you guys? Okay, right?
Okay.
So I think, yeah, I decide
Okay, miss.
myself. So I think we can stop now. Okay. So see you on Monday.
Okay.
Thank you and bye bye, guys. Russia.